Good Wednesday morning, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. Happening right now, teachers in the state's largest school district are voting on whether to walk off the job after they say health insurance stalled contract negotiations with the district. Audrey Russo has a closer look at the back and forth as voting begins.
Union tells me that 90% of its membership has expressed support for a strike. If they were to vote yes, they'd have to give the district 10 days notice before walking off the job, so it wouldn't happen until after the first of the year. But the district tells me it's already working on a contingency plan if that were to happen. So the district spokesperson tells me that classes could be canceled, which would push the academic year into June. Sports and activities could be limited on a case-by-case basis, and then some employees could be laid off temporarily. Now, the district will hold a special board meeting on December 22nd to discuss this plan further. Now, this is what one of their last board meetings looked like. Take a look at this video. You can see teachers demonstrating outside in the cold. The union says the biggest sticking point is that 22% hike in health insurance premiums for teachers. They've had 8 negotiation sessions with the district so far, and the district tells me that they've been informed that there's another mediation session on the books for January 2nd. Back to you.
Well, right now, the Robbinsdale School District says they're working on a strong transition plan after voting to close 3 schools to help fix its $21 million budget deficit. A former teacher in the district says it's similar to another controversial closure in 1982. 15 years ago, Dr. Mark Mertens wrote a more than 600-page doctoral dissertation on the process to close Robbinsdale High School back when there were 3 of them. He says the process left lasting scars on the community, telling the current superintendent this bit of advice.
I said you just have to make sure that you don't end up with a shrunken version of the status quo, because what makes sense to parents anytime you're closing a building, because they know they're giving up something, is that you are showing them that you are improving the quality of education.
Now, the school closures include 2 elementary schools and a middle school, along with its educational services building. Well, this morning, classes are back in session for 2 major South Metro districts after several online threats forced schools to close. Right now, police say a 16-year-old is in custody in connection to social media messages threatening multiple high schools in District 196. That includes Apple Valley, Eastview, Rosemount, and Eagan High Schools. Meanwhile, 2 different teens were questioned for a separate string of threats impacting schools in District 191, which includes Burnsville, Eagan, and Savage. Police say there's no threat to the public, and they don't believe the threats were related. We have an update from the state capitol this morning after Governor Walz signed 2 executive orders, he says, to address gun violence in the state. The orders direct state agencies to do a number of things, including educate more professionals about and the public about extreme risk protection orders, commonly known as red flag laws. Also to collect and analyze data from insurance companies about gun-related claims, and educate families about safe gun storage. The governor is also establishing a statewide safety council to develop a, quote, blueprint for preventing mass violence, domestic terrorism, and politically motivated attacks.
These actions today don't limit your freedoms at all. Being shot dead in your school certainly does.
Minnesota Republican Party Chairman Alex Plekish says the governor's actions are, quote, too little, too late.
Let's focus on the real issues, which are mental health and family values and things like that, to get people to not even consider doing these things.
Despite Walz's public calls for an assault weapons ban, he never called for a special session after initial talks between state Democrats and Republicans stalled in the narrowly divided legislature. The governor says this is what he's capable of doing right now, but bigger changes would have to come out of the Capitol when state lawmakers reconvene in February. Results are in this morning for the special primary elections to fill 2 vacant House seats. For District 47A, DFL candidate Shelley Buck won the primary. No Republican candidates have filed to run for the seat representing Maplewood and Woodbury, meaning Buck will be the only candidate on the ballot for the special election. And in House District 64A, Meg Lugar-Nicolai is leading with all precincts reporting. That seat was held by St. Paul Mayor-elect Kali Herr. The DFL winner will take on the lone Republican, Dan Walsh. Both special elections will be next month. Let's take a live look from the White House this morning as President Trump prepares for his primetime address tonight. The White House says he's going to talk about his accomplishments this year and tease some policy actions coming in the new year. The address is scheduled for 8 p.m. You can watch it on KARE 11. Now, House Republicans are set to vote today on one more proposal aimed at reducing health care costs, though it faces stiff odds with Republicans divided over the right approach. And since no deal has been made to extend enhanced subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, insurance premiums are almost guaranteed to shoot up for millions of Americans covered under Obamacare. Alice Barr reports from Washington.
Hi there. President Trump is preparing to speak to the nation tonight. The White House press secretary says focusing on his accomplishments from this year as lawmakers scramble over a key challenge left unaddressed, rising health care costs. This morning, growing anxiety over a looming spike in health care costs, with House Republican leadership opting not to vote on extending Affordable Care Act subsidies that expire in 2 weeks after failing to reach agreement with GOP moderates.
We're all trying to solve very complicated questions and challenges, and sometimes there's frustration with the process.
Among those moderates,
I think it's idiotic not to have an up or down vote on this issue.
Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, who called it political malpractice to not vote on extending the subsidies with conservative reforms.
3/4 of people on Obamacare are in states Donald Trump won. So maybe, just maybe, everybody should look at this and say, how do we actually fix the health care system?
Democrats want a 3-year extension of the COVID-era subsidies to keep premium costs from doubling for some 20 million Americans. But Republicans argue the subsidies are too expensive, and they don't want to pour more money into what they see as a broken system. Instead, the House is set to vote today on a separate plan of GOP-backed provisions aimed at reducing health care costs for all Americans. The Senate's top Republican acknowledging relief won't come before the subsidies expire.
I do think there is a potential pathway in January if Democrats are willing to come to the table on things that actually will drive down the cost of health care.
Moderate Republicans could offer an amendment in today's vote to extend the subsidies or join a Democratic push to force a vote, though both are a long shot. These subsidies were Democrats' central sticking point in the recent government shutdown, and they now plan to hold rising health care costs over Republicans in the coming midterms, part of a broader debate over affordability that President Trump will likely speak to in that primetime address to the nation tonight. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Developing out of Australia this morning, the surviving suspect in the Bondi Beach attack has been charged with 59 offenses, including 15 charges of murder and committing a terrorist act. Police say they were waiting for him to be lucid enough after waking up from a coma yesterday. He's still in the hospital after being shot by police. This comes as the first funerals have started for the victims in the attack. Emotional scenes here as large crowds came to pay their respects for the Bondi rabbi, 41-year-old Eli Schlanger. 3 more funerals are also happening today. The state parliament announced they will be meeting next week to talk about tightening gun laws, already the most strict in the world. This morning, Rob Reiner's son, Nick, is now charged with 2 counts of murder in the killing of his parents. The LA District Attorney made the announcement yesterday, 2 days after the legendary filmmaker and his wife were found dead in their home. It's not clear when Nick will make his first court appearance. It was supposed to happen yesterday, but his attorney says medical reasons prevented that. Reiner faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole or the death penalty. This morning, officials are sounding the alarms after a second levee broke in western Washington, sparking a flash flood warning and new evacuation orders while people were sleeping yesterday morning. And then take a look at this brand new video into the newsroom showing a person who had to be rescued from floodwaters. Scary stuff here. You can see him sitting on the roof of his car. The Sheriff's Marine Unit and National Guard were called to save him. We know another person wasn't as lucky, drowning after driving onto a flooded road. Now, these pictures posted by the Washington Department of Transportation shows you the damage lingering underwater. Several washed out roads and major highways closed right now from all of the damage. Well, listen up, Twins fans. If you were disappointed when the Pohlads took the team off the market, you're going to want to stay tuned for an announcement from the team later on today. Michelle Beck is here with everything we know so far.
Yeah, hey there. The Twins told us they'll be announcing a new limited partner at 2 p.m. The Athletic reporting a 20% sale will be to not 1 or 2, but 3 minority partnership groups. Now, while the Pohlad family, who are longtime owners, remains in control, the Athletic is also reporting that one of the Twins' new investors is Craig Leopold, owner of the Minnesota Wild. The Pohlad's 40-plus year reign has faced fan scrutiny for its frugal spending. Plus, the club's debt is reportedly at $500 million. As they're announced today, the new limited partners could steer the Twins to financial stability, giving clarity to fans who've wanted answers since August.
That's really the end all be all, is that we are Minnesota sports fans and we are cursed. We're left kind of guessing like, okay, what's the move next? If they can bring the change and get us back to winning games.
And so back in August, fans were told there would be 2 new limited partners. But again, as reporting suggests from The Athletic, there are now 3 limited partners. And that would come, according to multiple sources cited in that article by The Athletic, that came from just enough interest to form that 3rd minority group. Back to you.
Michelle, thank you. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up right after the break.